The nightmare that is this election scenario continues. This time we gotta just too much to go through. And my friends, there is a ridiculous amount of crazy videos. There are protests. There are riots. We got one clip where Fleckas punches in the name and information of a dead guy in Michigan, and it comes back as having voted. No joke. I did it. Other people are pointing it out. I don't know what this means. I just know that the media has done everything in their power to make sure no one trusts them right now. We know they were in the bag for Biden. We know the polls were historically wrong by a margin of 7 points. And we get people like Nate Silver saying, F you, we did a good job. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. But I can give Nate Silver credit right now. Nate Silver wants the Associated Press and Fox News to retract calling Arizona for Joe Biden. The way that many of these, and the Wall Street Journal has it has Arizona for Biden as well. It's making it look like Joe Biden is closer to winning than he really is. He's not. Trump absolutely has a path to victory, but he must win in Pennsylvania. Let me just clear things up right now. First of all, I'm not interested in any whiny baby sore losers from any side. I am concerned about instances of voter fraud that appear to be popping up across the internet. These must be investigated, because if we are going to have a clean win for whoever it is, we cannot have loose ends and lingering questions. That being said, I don't want to hear people saying, oh, look, it's fraud because of, and then point to some ridiculously obscure video or like a reporting error. OK, I want to see a clean victory. I believe if people want things investigated, they should be. And right now, to clarify what's happening with these protests, the mainstream media, most large media organizations and their Democrat activist allies and those who work for them will tell you that Donald Trump supporters are chanting "Stop the count" in Michigan and "Count the votes" in Arizona because they're just so dumb. No, what's happening is that Donald Trump has filed lawsuits in 3 states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, to stop the count until they're allowed poll watchers or tabulation watchers or whatever. They must have meaningful access. That's what the Trump campaign has said. Now, Trump has gone on to kind of inflame tensions by saying, what's the point? The damage has been done. I get what he's saying. The concern you need to understand is that you have people counting ballots. What's to stop one person from going, let's see, Trump, Biden, Trump, crumple it up and throw it in a bin? What if he goes Trump, Biden, and crumples up Biden and throws it in a bin? Anybody who's arguing against transparency, I believe, has nefarious motives. So, yes, I believe Trump is correct. We should have watchers in these places. And there's video. I kid you not. Let me show you this video where they're actually boarding up the windows so people can't see what they're doing. This is a whole new level of insane. And I warn you, Democrats, if this is a clean win for Biden and you're so sure and you're like, Biden did it, you better make sure they do not block windows and they allow the tabulation watchers in. Because I tell you this, the Trump campaign watching vote tabulation can't change the vote. But if you reject the transparency, you will make sure that you are ripping this country in half. Because there are a lot of people who want Trump to win who are not going to believe that they lost. This election must be the most meticulous. We must go through every vote with a fine-tooth comb. It's not entirely possible, but I'll tell you, man, it's really annoying because, look, I'm trying to be rational and reasonable. I think it is entirely possible that Joe Biden wins. You got to understand, my friends, Moody's Analytics said last year, and I covered this, with a good economy, Trump wins. With historical voter turnout, Trump loses by a tiny, tiny margin. Guess what happened? I would actually argue that Moody's underestimated Republicans. Absolutely. Even in the face of COVID and the economic collapse, Trump is on track to only lose by a tiny margin if Joe Biden takes the lead in Pennsylvania. As it stands, with Trump's lead in Pennsylvania and with the closing of the lead in Arizona and Nevada, Trump has a path to victory. But as Joe Biden's leads in Nevada and Arizona shrink, the lead for Trump is shrinking in Pennsylvania. We don't know where this is headed. So, of course, I encourage everyone to use every legal avenue. Like I said, This must be clean. There must be no doubt, no shadow of a doubt. We must know. Nate Silver wants AP and Fox News to retract calling Arizona for Biden, and he is correct. Of course, things are getting a bit hectic. Biden's lead in Arizona narrows to just 68,000 votes after new batch of absentees heavily favored Trump, with another 400,000 ballots yet to be counted. Now, Nate Silver said he believes Biden will end up winning because Trump didn't get the margins he needed for Maricopa, and some of these other counties in Arizona are actually leaning a bit more Democratic. We don't know, but he is correct. We won't know. Don't call Arizona for Joe Biden. They did. So let me show you where we're at right now. The Wall Street Journal currently has Joe Biden at 264 to Trump's 214. I believe this is pathetic media framing, okay? First and foremost, Georgia seems to be Trump. It's done. Trump has a lead of about 18,500, 99,000 expected of total vote reporting. I respect that it's fair. Trump is only up by 0.4%. But allow me to show you this very important tweet. Greg Bluestein, who is Atlanta Journal Courier, I think it's AGC political reporter, says, the gap in Georgia has narrowed to about 18,500 votes between Trump and Biden. The Secretary of State told WSB-TV there are fewer than 25,000 absentee ballots remaining, and they should be finished by noon today. That's it. There is a very, very slim chance that of the 25,000 remaining ballots, Joe Biden is going to be able to net 18,500. Well, he would need to be able to, he would not only, he needs more than 18,500 because he's got to offset Trump's lead in these as well. If out of these 25,000, Joe Biden gets 18,500, then Trump ends up walking away with the remaining ballots and still wins. So Joe Biden needs to get like 23,000 of all of these for him. Extremely, extremely unlikely. But I understand it's fair to say there's no guarantee that Joe Biden has lost yet. So I understand why they haven't called it. It looks like it's going to be Trump. I also want to point out the point of Donald Trump's lawsuits on deadlines is that people are saying, yes, but what about ballots that have not yet come in? And people are saying, that's right. There are more ballots that have yet to come in. Trump is saying we have an election day, not an election week, and we cannot extend deadlines. It is a legitimate argument. The Democrats are saying no to it, but I'm sorry, it is. It comes down to the Constitution. I think mail-in voting was a ridiculous idea. And I also got to say, I think Republicans flubbed it, and Trump supporters did too. That, look, everybody knew what they were doing and what was going to happen. So what do you expect me to do when they're counting mail-in ballots and they're like, it goes for Biden? That being said, there are some races, and I'm not talking about the presidential race, where there have been very strange dumps of like, we found unassigned ballots that just all of them are for the Democrat, 100%. That makes no sense. That's why I'm saying investigate these claims, and we must make sure this is done. Every I dotted, every T crossed, fine-tooth comb, lawsuits, etc., because the alternative is worse. If this ends up swinging Republican or Democrat, I don't care who wins, and it's not done by the book, so we know for sure what happened, you will get absolute chaos in this country, and it's already starting to fall in that direction. And I tell you, man, I see people saying it's time or whatever. We have to stop the Trumpers. Like, I can't believe 68 million people still support this. What is happening to our country? And people on the right saying similar things. Y'all do not want instability. I tell you, man, first I'll say this. If you're a combat vet and you do want it, well, I can at least respect you understand what combat is like and what chaos and conflict is like. But from what I've seen from the actual veterans, people have messaged me, they've said straight out, anybody calling for this is, they will come to regret it. You do not understand the horror of severe conflict. That's why this must be done, and it must be done right. Donald Trump needs to file the lawsuits. He needs to get every legal avenue exhausted. That way we can come down and say, look, man, we went through these claims. We investigated these claims. We got nothing. Or we investigate and we say, hey, look at that. That's bunk. Because we got some weird tweets about, man, dead people voting. Let me show you something right now. Here's where the New York Times currently has the race. 253 for Biden, 214 for Trump. As of right now, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Arizona, and Alaska have not been called. Alaska is very much likely going to Donald Trump. I think everybody assumes that. And currently he's up by just about, 30 points or so. So probably going to be Trump. No one's really thinking Alaska is going to be in play on this one. But I mean, it'd be funny if Alaska goes blue. That'd be weird. Right now, North Carolina has Donald Trump leading by about 80, just shy of 80,000 votes. The Biden camp has said they are kind of thinking North Carolina is a wash and they're not super concerned about it. Georgia will very likely be Donald Trump. He may need a legal challenge to win. Pennsylvania is a nail biter because Trump's lead is down to just less than 150,000 votes. And there's still 11% that needs to be report about 10% because they should say 99%. Trump could lose PA. Trump needs to go through every legal avenue to make sure. Listen, man, I'm not arguing for someone to use the courts to win the election. I'm saying that when the race is this close, we need help from another branch of government to make sure that we have not just Trump declaring victory, but the court saying we feel this way. You may be upset about Bush v. Gore, but it is better than the alternative. People just feeling like they won, both sides won, and then everyone fighting about it. Now, the important states here are Nevada and Arizona, and Trump needs only one of them if he wins these other three states, which it's looking like he will. But it is razor thin, okay? Razor thin. Let me show you 270 to win. As the leads stand right now, Trump in Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, with Arizona and Nevada leaning towards Biden. If we stopped right now, Donald Trump loses with 266 electoral votes. However, if Nevada ends up flipping because Joe Biden's lead is only 7,400 votes, Donald Trump wins with 272. It is down to the wire. Trump must do everything he can to win Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. He's going to be filing a recount in Wisconsin. We'll see what happens in Michigan. But things are getting spicy, man. You know, protesters are showing up at Maricopa County, and you've got, I showed you the video, you know, a lack of transparency. I think there is no guarantee that Joe Biden wins this. And it's look, I got to tell you, man, I think it's a toss up. I really, really do. It's a close race. But let me just, I want to tell y'all something, okay? As I mentioned with Moody's Analytics, they said historical voter turnout means the Democrats win. But what you need to understand is that there have been many predictions. Many people said there's a strong possibility of a GOP Senate and a Joe Biden presidency. In fact, some conservatives have argued it would be a good thing. Not what they want, but not bad in that you would get a lame duck president in Joe Biden. The GOP would control the Senate and it would constrain everything and kind of slow everything down. In my opinion, that's just a culture war ceasefire. However, I think, you know, look, I personally voted for Trump. I think it's better if Trump wins this. And I'm really worried about what happens if Biden does win. But what is actually surprising here is that, okay, the Democrats were calling for a blue wave. The media said they were going to own everything. This probably demoralized a lot of Trump supporters. They said, what's the point? They probably didn't go out and vote. You needed to go out and vote. And if you didn't do it, well, it's on you. But what we're looking at right now is that Trump might actually win, and he may get it from the courts, or he may actually win just very, very narrowly. But the GOP is looking like it's going to hold the Senate. I mean that to me is huge. This says that the Democrats were wrong. They're losing House seats, and Trump might lose the presidency. If that's the case, I think what you're hearing from the American people is that Trump's a man of bad moral character. And for all of the good things he's done, they would take a bumbly fumbly Joe because what's the worst that can happen? But they want a Republican Senate. It says to me that people they're just not happy with Trump. Now, there's a few things to be said there. Trump was running against the media, and that's the big problem. You know, I talk to someone, a different person every day who tells me that Donald Trump, very fine people, all of these lies. And that was it. This to me makes sense because the media lied every single day about Donald Trump. I wouldn't be surprised if the American people said, I don't want him, but the Republicans are all right. And thus they gain in the House. They may, I think they've lost one seat so far in Colorado, but it's looking like they're going to end up taking the remaining seats. The current projection right now is, I think New York Times is saying there's 4 that are a toss-up, but it looks like it's going to be a Republican Senate. We don't know for sure, especially with mail-in ballots coming in. It may flip. I'll tell you what, If the Senate falls to the Democrats, that will be the worst possible scenario, and it'll be the worst possible scenario even for Democrats. I tell you, man, getting the House and getting the presidency should be good for good enough for the Democrats. They're going to want everything, and Trump is going to want everything. But I think the Democrats taking everything is going to be apocalyptic in American constitutional sense. Now, the conservatives, or the originalists, I should say, have the Supreme Court, which is good news for them. But I'll just tell you this, man. I'm absolutely worried. You know why? Check it out. We have this. Trump backers protest ballot count at Clark County Election HQ. These are peaceful protesters for the most part across the country. They're peacefully kneeling and praying and chanting either stop the count because they want tabulation watchers, or they're saying keep going. Because in Maricopa, apparently they were stopping it saying, oh, no, we're not going to count. And they're saying you have to keep counting because it's looking like Arizona is going to go for Trump. But I'll tell you what's really worrying. Anti-Trump protesters clash with NYPD in Manhattan's Greenwich Village as National Guard is activated in Portland and LAPD declares tactical alert for second night in a row as election result hangs in the balance. It's getting chaotic. And I'm sitting here, I wake up in the morning and I got word that there are very serious death threats against certain people in, conservative reporters and things like that. No joke, 100% serious. I'm seeing people go out. I'm seeing people demand that I fight back and things like this. And I'm like, dude, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. You want to come to me with evidence of voter fraud? I'm more than happy to look at it. And there's some creepy stuff going on for sure. Investigate it all. Okay, all of it. But a lot of people, man, are stretching it because this is I don't know, man, a battle for the soul of the nation, I suppose. And it's looking like the polarization means whoever wins. I'll put it this way. As most of you know from the coverage I've done, the left is going further and further left to a rather absurd degree. And I think Joe Biden's plans will be the demise of the working class in this country. We know that Joe Biden is the candidate of multinational billion-dollar corporations, of Wall Street bankers, and high-income zip codes. Joe Biden's previous administration with Obama were in favor of the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is a free trade agreement. What that means is that goods manufactured in China, essentially, can be shipped back to the U.S. with no taxes, no tariffs, free of charge, which makes it very lucrative for those who want to exploit cheap labor. Joe Biden wants to increase the corporate tax rate. If Joe Biden wins, what I see happening is, assuming the Democrats get the Senate, they'll increase the corporate tax rate under the guise of paying their fair share. They'll then negotiate free trade agreements under the guise of international cooperation and trade. And that means if you run a business in the U.S. and you're manufacturing stuff and you got to pay 40% or 39.6% corporate tax, and you got to pay heavy salaries, $15 an hour. Is that what the left wants? That's right. They're going to increase wages to $15 an hour. Then you have a company say, I make hats. Why pay $15 an hour and a 40% corporate tax when they've just pushed these free trade agreements? Open the factory in China, spend $1 an hour in labor, sell the goods back to the Americans that will extract value from the lower class and send it to the wealthy elites. That's the future I see under Joe Biden, an exacerbation of the wealth inequality. The funny thing is, people like to talk about what happened in 1979 when all of a sudden the 1% started going up and the middle class stayed the same. I say, I don't know for sure, but I tell you what, we've had a couple Democrat presidents in that time period who did nothing to fix that. With Donald Trump, things started to change. Unemployment was going way down. Salaries were going up. Things were typically improving. If Donald Trump loses, it's going to go back to the way things were. So naturally, I bring this up because I think we are reaching the apex, the climax. The polarization is so extreme. We are looking at working class individuals, even minorities. There is a fracture in this worldview. But I tell you this, man, I am not going to play games with, if Joe Biden wins, he wins, and good for him. There's a lot of reasons why he may have won. And a lot of it may fall on Republicans not taking fraud claims seriously, not using the power that they had in the first 2 years to do something about it. And Democrats might win. Now, the individuals who are screaming about it, I don't blame you at all. The people who are saying we see the fraud and the Republicans didn't do anything, I don't think Republicans do. I don't like Republicans. But I tell you, man, the fracture in worldview says to me that we're at a point where no one can accept this. It won't matter. It won't. I blame the media. I've always blamed the media. The media lied about everything. Or I should say the media has been lying about too much. They've been lying about Trump. And they've been, the polls are all wrong, historically wrong. They've been in the bag for Democrats. Now you've got regular people watching these videos where you can, I'm not even kidding, go to Flecka's on Twitter. You can see him. He does a video where he punches in a dead guy's information. It says, your ballot was received in Detroit. You see stuff like that, whether it's true, I don't know what it means. Maybe it's one person. Maybe it's evidence of something. It should be investigated. You got James O'Keefe of Veritas coming out, a postal worker saying they were being told by their bosses to do illegal things. No one of people watching this are going to believe the mainstream media. If we make it through, if Joe Biden wins, and he might not, and we make it through the next 4 years, things will change. Things will change. The media is on its last leg. But it's their manipulations and lies that have resulted in a narrow Trump loss. Trump gained nearly 5 million votes. The Democrats gained also nearly 5 million votes, just over 5 million votes. But I tell you this. Democrats tend to be low information voters. I'm sorry, that's just true. I'm not saying every conservative is a genius. What I'm saying is that Democrats go after low information voters through social pressure, and they go after the youth vote. It's why Nancy Pelosi was talking about lowering the voting age to 16. They want the lowest information voters possible to use social pressure to get more votes. Republicans need to get better at that. But regardless, you are going to have a lot of chaos and a lot of problems as we move forward due to the fact that people don't see the world the same way. And thus, if we make it through the next 4 years with the shift in media, it will result in, I think, Republicans winning, or at least the Democrats becoming more populist. My bigger concern is that Joe Biden will just push the same policies that he did during the Obama administration, and it's going to be really, really bad. He's going to throw red meat to the left. They're going to get some silly concessions, and he's going to go start blowing up kids in the Middle East, and there's not going to be an anti-war movement because there wasn't under Obama. You'll still see the principled left, people like Matt Taibbi and Glenn Greenwald. And of course, I'll start screaming about foreign policy all day and night. But I'm not going to play any games. Look, when it comes to fraud, you got to show me the evidence. I think Democrats play dirty games, but dirty games are very different from outright cheating. I do believe that Democrats have played dirty games to the extent that, changing the rules for mail-in voting and things like this. Now, the cheating is something else. So look, I don't want to rant too much on this. Trump may still win. There are riots erupting. People are going nuts. My bigger fear right now is that it's day 3 and we're starting to see riots and we're starting to see the right come out. And we are standing on the precipice. Maybe we've already jumped off the edge. I hope you all stay safe. I hope you've prepared for any potential unrest. But I'm not confident we find a way out of this. My next segment is coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.